time, and these two teams will begin. We'll square off right here in the games that matter, but still some jobs to be decided. And all the talk, Ray, about who Montreal has lost in the offseason, but one guy they get back is Jonathan Drouin, who of course left the team in May of last year, but has returned and has been great in the preseason.
And spoke openly about his anxiety that led to sleeplessness, to a real difficult time just playing the game. It's fabulous to see Drouin back on the Canadiens bench in their lineup to give them a shot in the arm offensively and hope he can return to his previous form.
Jake Evans got squeezed there behind the Montreal goal. Ben Chiarot plays out ahead. And Brendan Gallagher had the pass out of his reach. So there have been major changes for Montreal. And Coach Dominic Ducharme, his first full year behind the bench. Christian Dvorak coming over from Arizona, among others. But out goes Philip Deneau as an unrestricted free agent to LA. Jesperi Kotkaniemi, the offer sheet to Carolina. Eric Stahl, Thomas Tatar, Corey Perry, all unrestricted free agents. And of course, Shea Weber, a massive loss on the back end. And his status and future very much in doubt. He was just a beast for that Montreal team that advanced to the Stanley Cup final last spring.
Gord, when I look at the players that left, and you know, of course, with Weber out and Deno headed to Los Angeles as an unrestricted free agent, they really fit in the style of play that Dominic Ducharme wanted his Canadiens to play, and the way that they played so effectively in the playoffs. Those are tough guys to replace. I think Christian Dvorak is a real nice addition for them, but those are big losses for the Canadiens.
Ilya Mikheyev, a long shot. That face-off leads to another scoring chance as Mikheyev moves in again. And Nick Suzuki lost that defensive zone face-off. That's what will miss Deneau the most. He took 500 plus defensive zone draws regular season and playoff. And that long shot knocked down by Mrazek. Suzuki was a 44% face-off man in the regular season, only marginally better in the playoffs. And
Gord, you've talked about this forever, about the top 10 face-off guys in the league always seem to be veteran players. You just gain experience, you gain strength, and for Suzuki, it's going to be a difficult transition. He's going to take more draws in his end than he has in the past.
Now Brooks knocks down that shot. That slips wide of the goal. Samuel Montembeault, the goaltender for Montreal, picked up on waivers from Florida the other day. And Christian Rubin sends that rink wide. A quick burst there and a shot taken by Michael Amadio. And the save made by Montembeault.
Amadio had the game winner last night in Ottawa. A little tap in off of Adam Brooks' pass. This is a terrific cross-seam, cross-neutral zone pass from Rubinj as his pass found Amadio on the tape. Here's Ilya Mikheyev. Lots of talk about lots of chances, not much finish. He gets 2 shots on goal on that first shift for the Maple Leafs playing tonight with Nylander and Tavares.
Puck moved in by Alex Belzile from Montreal, who made his NHL debut in this building in the bubble during the Stanley Cup playoffs in 2020 after 8 full years in the minors with 8 different teams.
That's a great story for him to make it and then to get into playoff games as well. And a pretty hard player. He plays the game in a crisp fashion.
Curtis Gabriel hammered down there by Matthew Perreault. One of those off-season acquisitions for Montreal, comes over from Winnipeg after a terrific time with the Jets where he really did everything for them.
Maybe doing a little bit more of that in Montreal this year. A little center, mostly on the wing.
Dargachintsev moves in, a long wrist shot knocked down by Montembeault. Rebound. That's flipped on goal by Brett Seney. He goes punting into Montembeault. And the goal immediately waved off as there was a pileup in the Montreal crease. And referee Kendrick Nicholson right away said no goal.
Well, Seney's lying on top of Montembeault in the crease. He had an excellent chance at the rebound. He cued it up over the net. The original shot, nifty little play by Dargachintsev. His shot is boxed out by Montembeault, and you see Seney's in the goal crease. And by the time that rebound is shoveled back towards the net, Montembeault's not able to get back to his feet. And Seney is trying to collect himself, his stick, and get out of the way. The wave-off's the right call.
Armia up for Evans. Jake Evans moves in, a great move as he gets around Manel. And quickly, Brennan Manel re-engaging with him. Mac Hollowell turns it over. Long shot taken there by Chris Weidman, who's back on this side of the Atlantic Ocean after playing last year in the KHL with Nizhny Novgorod. And Argachintsev was one of his teammates there. That's a long shot that bounces in by Peter Mrazek. Brendan Gallagher got a stick on that somehow. We've said that before.
Sherratt is going to shovel this from the sideboards, and I believe it is Gallagher, about 15 feet in front of Peter Mrazek, who's going to get a stick on this as Sherratt just shovels this to the net. Oh, it's actually Joel Armia who deflects it first. He's coming around the back of the net. This puck is deflected. It hits Hollowell's skate and deflects back behind Mrazek. I believe this will be Armia's goal. And what looks like the Canadiens' third group of forwards this year is on the board first.
KF turns it over, and here's Suzuki back with it. Nick Suzuki led Montreal in playoff goals and points last spring. Terrific junior career with Owen Sound and Guelph in the OHL. The OHL playoff MVP is last year junior hockey. Tavares got dumped there by Toffoli. And Brody back to pick up the rolling puck. Shots are 6-2 Toronto, a 1-0 Montreal lead. Nylander chips that down. Lift up by Alexander Romanov. Put on a few pounds in the offseason, some muscle to add to his already impressive frame. A penalty coming as Mrazek touches up. An elbowing call is going to go against Toronto here with 3:48 gone in the first period.
And Nylander's going to go for elbowing. Back behind the play, Nylander will take the game's first minor penalty. See Nylander go to finish his check, and he gets his elbow up high. And the call is made. Now that Hollowell's got the puck here, and he's going to try and shovel it up the boards. He turns it over once. Gallagher's shot's deflected. Now he's got it again. And this pass is up over Manel's stick. There's the deflection from Armia. So a bit of a rough shift for Hollowell. The puck ends up in the back of the net. A lucky bounce off his foot and into the net. The Canadiens on the power play.
Romanov with a long shot. Mrazek kicks that away. Toronto's penalty killing was a problem throughout the regular season last year. As Evans winds his way in, plays it back across to Perreault. Matthew Perreault across to Belzile. Armia to Belzile. And that puck cleared down the ice by Timothy Liljegren.
Canadiens getting a look at Romanov on the power play here, as they have in the last couple of games of the preseason. Chris Weidman has done a nice job, been on the ice for 4 or 5 power play goals for the Habs in this preseason. But as they try to align their defense, will it be Weidman in the 6 hole or maybe somebody else if Romanov can handle this?
Now Brody's clearing it to hit Amadio, and Amadio shovels it down. The KF quickly on Romanov, who moved that away. Brought in by Amadio. And Jonathan Drouin back to pick it up. Drouin named the winner of the Jean Beliveau Award for community service in Montreal. Toffoli drops it back. Suzuki is shot. Mrazek kicks that away. Gallagher spins back in the corner. He's tied up there by Brooks. Brody comes in for it. And Suzuki back to Romanov. Gallagher chops that towards the goal. Argachintsev picks it up off the glass to center ice. Off the boat. Leaves it there for Weidman. Almost turned that over as Marner was bearing in. Now does Semyonov to Marner. Marner back across. That goes off Suzuki and triple just wide. Now Weidman back with it. That's cleared away by Liljegren. And Sherratt back to pick it up. 10 seconds to go in the Montreal power play.
Well, 2 miscues by Weidman. Short-handed, sharp penalty killing by the Leafs to clear the puck down and run this penalty out.
Rubin off the board. Knocked down by Lehkonen. Quick backhand shot there by Perreault. 2 shots on goal for Montreal in that power play. It remains a 1-0 Canadiens lead.
That last stop for Peter Mrazek is an area where I think his game has grown. I've watched him for a long time, back to when he was with Grand Rapids in the American Hockey League, and used to be far more active in the net. He swim around a little bit, chase the play. Now more patient, more calm in the net. There he just held his ground, closed off the post, and made the save.
He was having a good year last year in Carolina, then he broke his thumb and missed 31 games.
Interesting that Carolina swapped out both their goaltenders this year.
Here's Ritchie knocking it down. Ritchie drops for Tavares, a backhand shot. And Montembeault makes the save on that. A bouncing puck in the early stages of the game winds up in the Toronto net, and it's a 1-0 Canadiens lead. Maple Leafs, Peter Mrazek, Nick Ritchie, Andre Kasha arrive, and out go Frederik Andersen, Joe Thornton, Zach Hyman, of course, a free agent to Edmonton. Nick Foligno, Alex Galchenyuk, and Maple Leafs will have some new faces, but there aren't a lot of jobs up for grabs. Nick Ritchie signed a 2-year deal for $2.5 million after playing for Boston last year.
Gord, I felt like last year the Leafs worked around the edges of the lineup. This year, those three additions in particular, while there are some questions to the health of Kasha and whether Ritchie can be a top-line player, those are significant additions for them. Those players pan out for them, they're in business. That gives them a top six that's going to score upwards of 175 goals this year.
Mac Hollowell comes flying in. Centers a quick chance for Tavares. Montembeault the save and on the rebound. And Montembeault freezes that with Nylander looking for the loose puck at the other side.
We've seen John Tavares for years, strong on his stick, 819 points in 870 NHL games. This puck's going to hit the corner boards, and look at how strong he is as he gets into position, pushes Gouli away, and ends up testing Montembeault as Hollowell's shot goes to the corner, and as the youngster Gouli gets turned around, there's Tavares with the chance on the net.
Now Perreault gets tossed out of the defensive zone face-off. Michael Pezzetta will step in, Toronto native. Last 3 years, Pezzetta in the American Hockey League for Montreal. He was a 6th-round pick in 2016. Here's Weidman snapping that indirect pass into the ice, but Brody beat Pezzetta there, and so the face-off will come back down to the Montreal zone.
There's always a couple of different games going on in the middle of a NHL exhibition game. Both coaches generally play their NHL guys against the NHL guys. The American League guys play against the American League guys. They want to try and get everybody evaluated against a level of competition, and then you'll see an American League guy pop up into the NHL top 6 guys, and you're like, oh, they're taking a real look at him.
Right. Here's Weidman, high off the glass. Riley had that skip by him, and Perreault lays it ahead. That's knocked away. On Pezzetta. Dargachintsev, Simeon Dargachintsev. 4 years in Peterborough in the Ontario League. Last year, played 6 games with the Toronto Marlies, had 17 in the KHL. So many players have bios like that this year. A few games here, a few games there. Of course, some leagues didn't start early. And Amadio a long shot. Montembeault turns that away. And Amadio got crunched in behind the goal by Romanov, along with Fairbrother. And Jenny Fairbrother retreats there as Gusev broke in on him. Now Fairbrother back for it. Jenny Fairbrother, a 3rd-round pick of Montreal a couple of years ago, around for Romanov. Long lead pass to Gallagher, skipped away. And Liljegren goes back. Dave Evans tracking him down. Amadio lays it out to Brooks. Fouled by Romanov, puts it back down, and this will be an icing call against Montreal.
Well, Alexander Romanov and Gianni Fairbrother are going to collect Amadio, who doesn't see either of them coming. Fairbrother's had a really good camp for Montreal. All reports are he's been very solid. They've been playing him on the right side. He's never played the right side of defense before, but given their strength on the left-hand side, they wanted to take a look at him. He's had an excellent camp for the Canadiens.
In comes Brody with a shot, and Romanov knocked that down. Marner, a centering pass. Ritchie scores! Marner to Ritchie to the back of the net. The game is tied 1.
If Nick Ritchie hasn't figured it out yet, That's a pretty good lesson right there. Where do you go if you're playing with Mitch Marner? Go stand on top of the blue crease, get your big frame in there, and get your stick on the ice. They scramble the draw, and on the Romanov block, Marner's going to get to it first, and he shows his exemplary patience. His head is up the whole way, and he lays a beauty on the tape for Ritchie, who has nothing to do except redirect it past Montembeault. Ritchie 15 goals in Boston last year. He's got a couple now, and he's on the receiving end of a Marner beauty, and it's 1-1.
It was a career high for him last year, the 15 goals. He was picked 2 selections after William Nylander in the 2014 draft. Native of Orangeville, Ontario. Now Marner again, in shoots, and Montembeault makes the save on Marner.
Well, after Ritchie is on the receiving end of the Marner pass, he helps dig this one out of the corner for Marner. The Canadiens lose track of him somehow in front of the net. Ritchie just comes quietly to the front of the net and stands there, gets his stick on the ice. Doesn't take a touch, just redirects this past Marner, and it's in the net.
Nate Gooley, meantime, has been called for slashing at the end of that last play. So Toronto will get a power play chance here with 11:18 to go in the first period.
Oh, there's the penalty as Gooley's trying to knock Marner's stick out of his hands or knock the puck off his stick. He ends up getting called for high sticking.
Nylander on the Toronto power play, which began so well last year, then really hit a wall. Riley across to Nylander. Leafs scored 21 power play goals in their first 19 games. Nylander centers it. Tomorrow's got to stick on that. And Montembeault the save. Now Riley. Across he goes. Nylander unloads, and Montembeault stops that. The centering pass, Marner feeds it back across, but skipped away from McKayev. Back for Riley. Morgan Riley down to Nylander. Nylander back to Marner. Swap pass off the goalpost for Tavares. Back is Riley with it. Morgan Riley back to McKayev to Marner. McKayev, Marner chips it towards the goal. Tavares back for Nylander, and Montembeault the stop on that.
I know Austin Matthews isn't on the other side, but that power play looks pretty good right there.
In comes Tavares with it. Shoots. Montembeault save. Rebound. Skipped away from McKayev. Of course, this was the strength for Montreal last spring. The penalty killing was exemplary for the Canadiens. Shorthanded 61 times. Allowed 5 power play goals. In comes Amadio. Drops it back. Gusev with it. Now Gusev, cross ice pass. Argachintsev with a shot. That was blocked by Romanov, but that broke his stick. Ryan Paling on it. Back at the line, knocked down. Argachintsev back for Gusev. Gusev, Argachintsev to the goal mouth. Montembeault poked that away from Amadio. Argachintsev feeds that back to Manel. Manel for Gusev. Centers it. Ritchie shoots, scores! Power play goal. Ritchie's got 2, and it's 2-1.
Fantastic puck movement by both units on the Leaf power play. Nick Ritchie's going to be the beneficiary of a broken Canadian stick that leaves Ryan Paling unable to defend. Romanov's going to break his stick early into the penalty kill. Now, he doesn't have a stick. Eventually, Paling is going to give him his stick. And that's going to leave the forward, of course, Paling without a stick. The Leafs move the puck around nicely. Gusev's going to find Ritchie, and there's Paling. You're kind of a passenger. I mean, what else are you going to do with a 230-pound guy standing in the slot? Pass from Gusev to Ritchie's there, and it's in the net.
Back goes Wideman for it. Here's Belzil. Out in the corner. Rubic got a stick on him, and now Lilligan with it. A sharp angle shot. Montembeault save. Picked up on the side of the goal. A centering pass. Cini a second try on the feed from Curtis Gabriel. Now Gabriel back for Rubic. Cross he goes to Lilligren. Back for Gabriel. A little spin move in front. Perreault knocked him off the puck. And Belzil bats that ahead. Present on it. Lilligren takes that away from him. Lead pass to Cini. Drops it back to Gabriel. He's poke checked there by Evans. Jake Evans gains center ice and flips that down to the Toronto zone. Riley back forward. Round to Brody. Semyonov playing in his 4th preseason game, so he's getting a long look in camp.
Had a nice play on the game-winning goal last night. A beautiful breakout pass that sent Adam Brooks flying up the ice and eventually led to Amadio's goal with a minute 25 left.
Here's Caden Gooley back forth, the 19-year-old defenseman who barely played last year. Played 3 games for Laval, went back to junior in his 2nd game with Prince Albert, broke his hand after playing for Canada at the World Junior Championship.
Another player whose ear just got scrambled up.
He's young enough to play for Canada at the upcoming World Junior Championship in Edmonton. And right now, trying to make this team. Mikheyev drops it back to Nylander. Ian Nylander plays it back across. And Tavares has that taken away by Montembeault. Hollowell with it. Down for Nylander, around for Mikheyev. Mikheyev had Romanov bounce off him. To Foley. Bumped there by Hollowell. Now Suzuki back with it. And Suzuki sends that in as Mrazek leaves it there for Brennan Manella. Free agent signing out of Vancouver and Lethbridge in the Western League by the Minnesota Wild. Played a few games for them, but right, new organization here. Amadio for Gusev. Rink wide, he goes to Amadio. He was tied up by Sherratt. Now flipped in. Rafael Agutinaz. Do-si-dos there with Liljegren. Now Luckman puts that through the crease. Back to Sherratt. And Sherratt. That puck skips back in front, knocked away. A good defensive play by Rubens. The puck bounces back to center ice, and now into Sherratt. He's got Brooks on him. At center ice, Liljegren gets a stick on that. 15-6, the shots on goal in favor of Toronto. Liljegren to Riley. That pass hit Marner in the foot. And bounce the other side of the ice. Bill Zill's got it back now. In comes Bill Zill on Brody. Drops it back, that was knocked away by Ritchie. Montembeault out of the reach of Marner, but Marner gets it right back to Ritchie, to Marner. Pivots back in the corner, Mitch Marner. Directing the traffic with his head, tells Brody where to slide over. Now Riley with it. Morgan Riley to Ritchie. The side of the goal, Marner. To Semyonov, bouncing puck, Ritchie again with a chance, looking for a first period hat trick, and Montembeault turns that away.
Well, that's a fun 15 minutes of hockey for Nick Ritchie. 2 goals, the puck's following him all over the place.
Pizzetta back to center ice, and Brody back with it. Our colleague Mike Johnson knows a thing or two about these things. Always says scoring in the preseason may not be a big deal, but it's better than not scoring. And Johnny counted them all.
So are you saying that he was a big preseason scorer?
He just liked to score goals. So does Nick Ritchie. He's got 2 here in the first period, and the Maple Leafs have a 2-1 lead here in Toronto. TSN Radio 10-50.
Ilya Mikheyev in the penalty box for cross-checking as he gets the stick into the back of Caden Gooley. So the Canadiens, who have been run over here in the last 10 minutes of this period, after scoring the game's first goal, have a chance to even it up on their power play, their second of the period.
Toronto has 11 of the last 12 shots of the game. Semyonov battles Ritchie, or Suzuki rather, for that puck and sends it down the ice. It's been often documented that Sidney Crosby struggled on face-offs early in his career. It's part of the development process. Weidman sends it rink wide, but of course the loss of Deneau, who was so good at it, with highlights in Montreal. Weidman back at the point, lines that down to Suzuki. Suzuki centers it, that was blocked there by Brody. TJ Brody sends that off the glass and back down the ice.
Semyonov has done a nice job for the Leafs. He's pushed himself into notice for the coaches. I mean, they've loved David Kampf, but Semyonov maybe pushes himself into position to take note a bit.
Foley to Wideman. Back across to Suzuki. To Wideman. Foley standing in front. Wideman feeds it back across. Drouin. Goes that wide of the goal. Now Jonathan Drouin chips it back to Wideman. That's intercepted by Rubich, who sends it down the ice. Thompson-Bow. Leaves it there for Jake Evans, who was injured, got hit by Mark Scheifele in the playoffs in the second round last year. That earned Scheifele a 4-game suspension. Back to Romanov. Romanov for Belzil. Shoots, scores! Alex Belzil on the power play ties the game at 2.
Terrific screen by Matthew Perreault in front of Peter Mrazek, who was in position, can't find it. And the Belzil shot is going to go right through Perreault and right over the glove of Mrazek here. You can see Mrazek's looking for the puck. He's in decent position. He just can't see it. Down low, try to find it, too late. Belzil has tied this game at 2.
I mentioned it. Great story is Alex Belzil, who spent a long time riding buses and eating fast food to make his way to the NHL. He's 30 years old now.
9 years pro. Just the lack of quit in someone like that is so admirable. What a journey for him to get to the NHL.
There's Savard. David Savard, done as a free agent by Montreal in the offseason. From Columbus. Cini plays that in, and Savard got a stick on him. Here's Gouli back for it to Savard. Cini knocked that loose.
And Savard played 20 games in the Tampa playoff run last year. The Lightning traded a first-round pick for him, and he just fit in just like they hoped he would. And as the Lightning went on to back-to-back Stanley Cups.
Savard signed a 4-year deal with Montreal as an unrestricted free agent. Drafted by Columbus. Moved to Tampa at the deadline. Shea Weber light. Doesn't have the shot, but the physical side of it.
The one thing is, and it does get talked a lot, and it actually is a thing, is Weber's terrifying to play against.
Right.
And there's just his presence is just different than Savard. I think Savard's a nice signing, and he'll try and plug some of the gap of Weber being gone, but those are mighty big shoes.
Yeah, Savard doesn't have the offensive game. 2 years ago, he did not score a goal for Columbus. He played the most minutes of any player who didn't score that year.
It's got to be boring.
Would be for you.
Like, just one anywhere.
Nylander for Tavares. Ron Tavares spins back in the corner. Throws it back for McCabe. A shot, score! William McCabe slides it by Montreal, and it's 3-2 Toronto.
Well, preseason's for a lot of things. It's going to work on your goal call by the end of this night here, Gordon. 3-2 already. Ilya Mikheyev, who has talked about how much he wants to score more. He gets all kinds of chances, just doesn't seem to finish at a level you think he might be able to. This is a pretty quick release here. He doesn't take much time as the puck deflects off of Wideman's skate, and then Mikheyev quickly to his forehand through Wideman again. Montembeault can't pick that up, and Mikheyev is on the board in the preseason as well with his first.
Scored 7 goals in 54 games last year, but the term snake bit doesn't really begin to describe the nightmare he had last year with so many great chances.
But Gord, I look, he's got 8 and 7 goals in his 2 years here, and he was hurt the first year, and then last year was, of course, a bit of a mess. But what's a good number for him? Is it 15? I think so, and I think he can do that.
Knocked down by Brody, a long wrist shot. Montembeault, the glove save on that. And some pushing and shoving breaks out. Goals aplenty here in the first period. Alex Belzil ties it up, and Toronto comes right back on the goal by Mikheyev to take a 3-2 lead. Here we think back to Tampa in 2019 getting swept by Columbus after that record-breaking season. A lot of people thought the next year would be kind of a lost regular season until the playoffs. And people think that about Toronto after losing in the first round to Montreal after the great regular season it had. But John Cooper, the coach in Tampa, used the next year for Tampa to revamp the way the Lightning play.
Right.
I wonder if Toronto won't do the same.
Well, they changed some personnel, they changed their style a bit, and what they really came to was that we've got enough talent to score, but we've got to be able to find ways to win these tighter games. Certainly they found the key, and it's one thing Jake Muzzin has said about the Leafs is
Nylander is shot, he ripped that wide.
Is that they have to find a way to play better in tight games. Close those games off. And maybe that's part of the way the regular season runs out for Toronto this year.
In what looks to be a very tough division. Ritchie moves in. He's got 2 so far tonight. Savard steps into him. Now Semyonov with it. Romanov feeds it around to Toffoli. Bounce down to the Toronto zone. Liljegren goes back. Yeah, nicely called against the Canadiens. 4.8 seconds left in the first period.
It's been an excellent period for the Leafs. 22 shots on goal, 4 of them for Ritchie at least. 2 of them, of course, in the back of the net. Here, Nylander finds another open spot, dead center in the slot. Tavares and Nylander have talked about getting off to a good start together. We'll see who their left winger shakes out to be at the start of the year, but that was a good blocker save off of Nylander by Montembeault, who's just been peppered in goal.
Off the face-off, here's a body of a centering pass for Ritchie, drops that back. And the puck and Nick Ritchie were on a first-name basis throughout that first period. He's got a pair, and Toronto's got a 3-2 lead as we send you to the first intermission with James Duthie and the panel.
Score, they look terrific, and a couple of the highlighted players. Nylander shooting the one-timer, Marner in the middle of the ice, and that'll be real key to opening up Matthews on the other side as well.
Shots in the last 14 minutes of that first period were 17-2 in favor of Toronto. We mentioned these teams will face each other in their season opener a week from tomorrow. Look at Liljegren. Moves that ahead now. Shovel cross ice by Semyonov. He finds Ritchie. Here's Ritchie in the corner with it. Pumped there by Weidman. And Gallagher up for Armia. And Gallagher, just 21 games last year with a broken thumb. He's missed 65 games in the last 3 years with broken fingers and his thumb.
You can say get better gloves, but he got hit by Shea Weber a couple of times. I don't know what glove is going to save you from that.
Maybe the old chainmail gloves, but other than that, go to the museum and get a couple of those. And the list of Shea Weber shot victims, friend and foe, is a long one. Suzuki for Drouin. Drouin. Around the boards, Suzuki trying to center it, knocked down by Mikheyev. Now a centering pass, Tavares in, shoots, that was blocked by Savard. And Mikheyev holds the line for Toronto. Mikheyev brings wide to Nylander. William Nylander slides that down, Savard steps in front of Mikheyev. Now Savard around to Harvey Pinard. Away comes Raphael Harvey Pinard, a 7th-round pick of Montreal a couple of years ago. First-year pro at 9 goals in 36 games for Laval. And Drop pass. Looking on the shot. That's knocked away by Mrazek. Romanov. Plays it down. Lehkonen. Pump there. Hollowell stepped into him, and now stepping up is Yanni Fairbrother. Puts it back down in the Toronto zone, and both teams will change. Lead pass for Gusev knocked away. Nikita Gusev in his third preseason game has 1 assist so far. Picked up on the first period goal by Ritchie, the second Ritchie goal. So Gusev has 2 assists so far in the preseason.
Talked in the first period about David Savard signing a 4-year deal. Here's a free agent. He gets caught a little deep in the zone. Now you're at the mercy of your positioning. You better block that if you're going down there. He takes away the Tavares chance with a block just a couple of feet in front of the blue paint.
A decade ago, he was the Canadian Hockey League Defenseman of the Year. Rubin to Gabriel, a long shot. Curtis Gabriel turned away by Montemo. That centering pass taken away by Sherratt. Cleared down the ice. Ben Sherratt was signed to a 3-year deal by Montreal at $3.5 million a year that had some people scratching their heads. It's been a great signing for the Canadiens.
And the people scratching their head hadn't watched him in Winnipeg. He's a hard guy to play against. He's a better player, I think, than most people thought when he went to Montreal.
Argashinsev with a nifty move in the corner. Drops that back to Brody. For Liljegren. Back down to Seamy, the former New Jersey Devil, to Liljegren. There's Liljegren, a centering pass, and Brody had jumped in. A penalty coming now. And Sherratt already making his way to the penalty box, and at center ice, Matthew Perreault just leveled Argashinsev. Seamy works in. Trying to center it. Finally, Montreal touches up. And the Maple Leafs are going back to the power play 3.5 minutes into the second period.
Pezzetta's going to go to the penalty box for the hook here. The Leafs started to move people around the zone, and the Canadiens had a terrible time trying to sort everybody out, and you're going to see Pezzetta get on the backside of TJ Brody. There's the hook, and the Leafs will go back to the power play.
Tavares for the face-off. Nylander, Marner joined him up front. Austin Matthews continues to skate with the Maple Leafs, taking some contact drills now. Over his wrist surgery in the offseason. Nylander back to Riley. Morgan Riley. Riley to Nylander. Morgan Riley shoots. He powdered that wide. Riley takes the pass to Nylander. McCann centers it. Marner's shot was blocked. And the Canadiens clear it down. Of course, in Montreal, questions continue about Carey Price, who has been sick the last couple of days. He's coming off season surgery as well.
Knee surgery for Price. They've got quite a laundry list of guys that are out of the lineup. Injury-wise, they're hoping to get Cole Caulfield back on Thursday to get back in the lineup.
Tavares to Nylander. Shoots! Pad saved by Montebo. Pass to Nylander off the back of the net. Savard rattles it off the glass and down the ice. Mrazek. Away from the on-rushing Raphael Harvey-Pinard. I gotta say, our RDS colleague, Pierre Hood, says it with much more savoir-faire.
There's a little bit more flair there for sure.
Argashinsev back to Manel. Argashinsev drops it back, and Amadio fan of that one-timer. Manel kept it alive. Now Lehkonen knocks it out. 30 seconds to go on the Toronto power play. Argashinsev.
He's got some slick hands.
He's a third-round pick of Toronto back in 2018. Gusev for Manel. Back for Gusev to Manel. Gusev tees it up and shoots, and Montebo the same. Back to Gusev. Manel. Argashinsev. Back to Manel. He shoots. Montebo saved. Does a split stop. The rebound. Still loose in front. Argashinsev was shot. That hit someone in front. At one point, Montebo had his stick upside down. Another chance in tight, and Gusev turned away by the Montreal netminder. The shots keep piling up. It remains a 3-2 lead.
Well, they wanted to get a look at Sam Montembeault, they're getting a lot of look at him as he's getting peppered here in the net. Ritchie right on the doorstep, through the screen, spin, rebound. Montembeault with 1 save, 2 save. Dargachensev breaks his stick, and this is where Montembeault is just trying to get his stick back in his hand, get the thing turned over, and try and get himself back to his feet to keep the puck out of the goal. 8-0 shots here early in this second period.
4 on that last power play. Montembeault getting tested here in this preseason start. You might as well. Pilgrim. Lines up to center ice, knocked down by Toffoli. Speaking of nice free agent signings for Montreal, that one panned out about as well as you could possibly hope. 28 goals in 52 games. A 4-year deal at just over $4 million a year. Bear brother. Back down to Toffoli. The centering pass missed. Suzuki. Brooks has it back, along with Semyonov. Man comes Brooks with it. Banks it back around. Semyonov had it taken away by Weidman. Semyonov trying to pick that free. He was a KHL champion for Omsk last year, playing for Bob Hartley. There's Weidman back with it. Just 7 shots for Montreal here.
25-2 were the shots in the last 20 minutes.
Follow up back with it. A hand pass called against Toronto. 3-2 the score here in the second period. 13:06 to go in Toronto.
Cup tonight. Primo had played earlier in the preseason. And at some point here, they're going to have to make a decision between these two goaltenders. Assuming Carey Price isn't ready to start the regular season, one of them will be the backup to Jake Allen. Montembeault is probably decently happy with his first 27 minutes here. He's faced 32 shots on goal. And if you want to have a good showing, you need the puck to come your way. Well, Dominic Ducharme seeing a lot of Montembeault tonight.
Primo made a start against Toronto last season here. A goal in the first shot, 16 seconds in. 4 on 15 in the first period was pulled. Of course, his dad, Keith Primo, spent 15 years in the NHL.
Yeah, he was fun to play against.
We saw him, remember, at the airport in Victoria after a pre-tournament game of the World Juniors. As Kane was playing for Team USA, we said, how did you, of all people, become a goalie dad?
But
it's had to know.
It's so cool to see someone like Keith watching his son, how nervous he was.
Right.
You know, like a goalie dad is like, they don't want to talk to anybody. They just want to watch the game. They don't want other people talking to them. And that was Keith.
Now in the corner, Semyonov took Paling in hard. And pass call as Semyonov and Paling were eyeing each other up.
Talked about Kirill Semyonov a couple of times in the first period. 27 years old. He's played the last 5 years in the KHL, 4 of them in Omsk, and had 10 to 16 goals. He's a two-way player, and I kind of caught my eye a little bit here. You may not make the team out of camp, but you want to put yourself in a position that you are a good idea, that the coaches remember you from your last stint here in Toronto, and done a nice job.
A chance on the side of the goal, and collected and turned away by Mrazek. But making the team or not making it at a training camp isn't the final word.
No, not at all. What you want to do if you're one of those guys that gets sent down is as I mentioned, you want to leave the last impression the coaches have of you is that, yeah, this guy can be someone we can call up during the year.
Runner across the Ritchie, a centering pass goes off the skate of Weidman, sent back down. Amadio up there by Weidman. And now Matthew Perreault sends that to center ice. Then comes Pizzetta on it. Now Gusev chips that to center ice, picked up by Amadio. Up ahead for Brooks, and Romanov took that away. Romanov played just 4 playoff games for Montreal. In the regular season, they gave him sparing minutes as well. A lot of patience. He's just 21 years of age. But has all the earmarks of a burgeoning star for Montreal.
He plays such a bold game. Just add 10 pounds to him in a couple of years and you're going to see a completely different player. I want to see the step for Romanov, though, is that it's going to be what he does with the puck. Can he make that pass a little easier? Will he be a little more confident? He's always stepping up into the play physically, but there's more smoothness to his puck game that will be the next step of his evolution.
We talked about that World Junior Tournament in Vancouver, Victoria. He was the top defenseman in that tournament. Third round pick of Montreal. His grandfather is Ilya Letunov, former head coach of the Russian national team and a terrific defenseman in the old Soviet Union. I just like saying his name. Tavares for Mikheyev. Gargachev trying to knock that down, but Romanov takes it away. Now there's Mrazek to pick it up. He watched there by Gallagher. Gallagher with an inadvertent bump on the way by. Evan lays it back in deep. Brody got spun around there by Evan. Armia throws down Brody. Gallagher's into it with Curtis Gabriel. Armia will go off for Montreal on the Toronto power play.
I think it's going to be a cross check right there. As he gets a stick underneath the arm of Brody, the cross check goes to the top of the list of penalties that are going to be called this year, and it's a penalty. I mean, you might not like it given the way it's been called over the last however many years, but I think what's going to happen, Gord, is if they stay on the standard, the players will back off from it.
They will, 100%, because you and I have seen it. You and I have done how many international tournaments where North American guys go over, and within a week they adjust.
Well, there's no better example than the in the crease rule.
Right. Gusev to the goal mouth. Little tap pass there by Tavares, just missed.
Every year, some Canadian or American player is in the crease 7 times in the first week, and then they're never in it again because they learn, and they'll learn this too.
Gusev drops it back to Riley.
Gusev instead of Nylander on this.
Well, Gusev led the 2018 Olympics in scoring. He was tremendous for the Olympic athletes of Russia. Tavares feeds it back across to Manel. Across he goes to Gusev. Tavares to Gusev. Back to Tavares at the side of the goal. A little back pass there. Mikheyev couldn't quite get to it. Now back at the point, Manel to Gusev. Back to Manel. Pass through Marner to Gusev. His pass across went off a skate. Now Mikheyev back with it. Marner drops it down. Tavares feeds it back. Manel scores! Brennan Manel, power play goal. And Toronto leads 4-2.
A couple of big years in the American Hockey League, 199 games, 116 points for Brendan Manel. He's in the KHL last year at 38 points in 47 games. He comes quietly into the spot, and as Harvey Bernard goes down to the goal line, he wants to take that pass from Tavares to Gusev away. Well, that opens up this one out to Manel. He lays it out on the tee, and Manel beats Montembeault, and it's 4-2 Toronto.
Played for Dynamo Minsk in Belarus in the KHL last year. Played the Western Hockey League for Vancouver and Lethbridge. Native of Minnesota, so quite a journey for him. And a 2-season goal in the NHL.
Caps, little update. Nylander's not on the Leaf bench. We're down to 12 forwards, or 12 skaters. Nylander not out there, or not on the bench rather right now.
Now Belzil works in. He shoots, it goes off the leg. Another assist for Mitch Marner. And here's Ritchie with it. Semyonov throws that rink wide to Amadio. Amadio shoots, it goes off a stick and flutters wide. 33-7, the shots on goal in the game. Here's Brody with it. Drouin in for Suzuki. Poke kick there by Amadio. Fairbrother just missed on that. Now Riley's got it back for Toronto. Morgan Riley gains the blue line, comes it across the Brook, centering pass for Amadio. Fairbrother tied his stick up. Gusev back to Riley. A shot. Montembeau the save. And Toffoli plays it out. Romanov. Lead pass for Gallagher. That just missed. Argachidze. Spun around by Gallagher. Long pass to center ice. Gusev reaching for it. Evans up to Armia. The Gallagher a long shot. Kicked up by Mrazek. A long rebound. Picked up by Sedel.
That's the first official shot here in the second period for the Canadiens.
In comes Goulet. Goulet a sharp angle shot. That's knocked away by Mrazek. Well, for Goulet, the choice is either the NHL or junior. There's no middle ground for him.
And with Joel Edmondson among the injured players for the Canadiens, there's some talk that maybe Goulet can squeeze into the Canadiens lineup at the start of the year until Edmondson gets back.
He can play 9 games without burning a year in his contract. Tavares. Spur around the corner by Tavares. Now McCabe trying to work it free and does for Liljegren. Drop back to Brooks. And Lehkonen. He's challenged there by Tavares. Woolley has it back. Banks it to Armia, who chopped it to center ice. And in comes Paling on Rubic. Got a step on him, and Rubic reached back and knocked Paling down. Ryan Paling getting every opportunity to establish himself in this Montreal lineup. Playing his 4th preseason game.
It's not been a great preseason for him. Not noticeable enough. Not enough pace to his game yet. Brendan Gallagher said earlier this week that wherever he starts this year, they're going to need him in Montreal. Gallagher, a fan of the way Paling plays.
Here's Wyden with it. We have Suzuki and Dvorak in the top 2 spots. Jake Evans in the mix as well. Paling spent all of last year in the American Hockey League with Laval.
It's a big ask to think that Jake Evans can step and be your number 3 center.
Semyonov had to take it away by Sherratt. Now the play's offside at the Montreal line. Brennan Manel, the 24-year-old from Woodbury, Minnesota, has the Maple Leafs up by 2.
Manel, who started his NHL career in the Minnesota Wild organization, most of it in the American Hockey League, is going to get on the board here. Little nice play actually from McCabe to keep the puck alive at the blue line. Marner shovels it down to Tavares, and as Gusev goes to the front of the net, that pulls the Montreal defender Harvey Pinard down low, and Brendan Manel is able to walk in uncontested from the point to bury the one-timer.
And Suzuki battling for that face-off in the neutral zone. Never mind, it's a neutral zone face-off. It's the preseason.
You still want your numbers to look good, though, Gordon. Neutral zone face-off doesn't matter. It's still a face-off here. If you're a young guy too, those things matter.
Ron Francis used to always argue that don't waste your good moves at center ice, but he used to win 75% of his draws anyway. He could waste a few.
Yeah, he was good everywhere on the ice.
Drouin drops it back, and a quick shot by Suzuki, stopped by Mrazek. Semyonov, a centering pass for Marner, batting at that. He's stick on it a couple of times. Ritchie, he scored twice in the first period. Bounce that back to Semyonov. Now Suzuki in with Gallagher. Suzuki drops it back to Armia in shoots. It was blocked by Dargachintsev. Now Savard with it. A centering pass and handcuffs Armia. He throws it back to Gallagher. In comes Evans. His shot was blocked. Goalie back with it. Gallagher drops it back. Gabriel picks it up. At least break out 3-on-2. Dargachintsev up for Gabriel, and Gallagher comes back to break it up. Janelle back with it. Drops that back to Hollowell. Dargachintsev. Rossini. Dargachintsev. Third pass. Score! Semyon Dargachintsev. And it's 5-2 Toronto.
I mentioned earlier in the period that the sweet mitts that Dargachintsev has, he made a couple of really nice moves. Patience with the puck. He's quick and small and really gets over top of the puck. He's going to make a nifty little play here through the middle, and Cini will find Gabriel. But Dargachintsev gets himself back to the middle of the ice to receive the pass, and he beats Montembeault over the glove here. Probably a shot that he would want back. But Dargachintsev makes it 5-2, his first of the preseason.
Mentioned 4 years with Peterborough, the Ontario Hockey League. Third-round pick of Toronto back in 2018. Most of the year last year was Nizhny Novgorod in the KHL. Here's Sherratt with it. Lays that up for Lehkonen. He got stapled there by Rubich. Willigren digs it free. Here's Sherratt back in the point. Across he goes. Wide on the hard shot. Bounced off the inboards. Mrazek down. Takes that rebound away from Lehkonen. Lehkonen wraparound try. Mrazek stops that. And now Nylander back out there for Toronto. Flips it down to the Montreal zone. Moved in by Belzile. Back goes Manel for it. Hollowell to Amadio. Long pass. That's knocked down by Brooks. In comes Brooks with a chance. Shoots. Montembeault save. And Gusev racing to the rebound. Back to Manel. Amadio centering pass. Perreault got in the way of that. And Pizzetto plays it out for Montreal. Hollowell. Throws that back down the Montreal zone. Knocked down by Romano. Amadio in for Brooks. Now Amadio with the interception. Drops it back to Brooks. Brooks. It's back, crisscrossing with Gusev, and the pass missed now and goes back down to the Toronto zone. That pass goes off the stick of Marner into the Toronto bench. It's a 5-2 Toronto lead with 1:03 to go here in the second period.
Real good puck movement by the Leafs here as they break out of the zone cleanly. Gabriel finds Dargachintsev in the middle of the slot, and Montembeault maybe a goal he would like back as he waves at the wrister, and it's 5-2.
Now remember, Montreal picked up Montembeault on waivers from Florida, so if they do send him down, he's got to go back on waivers, and Florida can reacquire him.
Can't be like last year, though, can it? Those poor goalies last year, they were on the merry-go-round. Claimed, reclaimed, sent down, reclaimed again.
And Anton Forsberg, across Canada a couple of times, what, of driving to different places?
I want to say Edmonton picked up a goaltender, and I can't quite think. He was in San Jose, and he ended up driving to the border. He had to wait at the border to cross.
Right.
Then he had to quarantine. Then he practiced twice. They sent him down, and he got claimed again.
Drove back home.
Nice 3 weeks.
Well, there were guys last year who were sent to the taxi squad and called up, 15, 16 times. Now, it wasn't necessarily a move that you had to make, but there's Marner with it. That broke Sherratt's stick. By the way, some Leaf news. Josh Hosang has signed an American League deal with the Marlies. He came to Toronto's camp on a PTO, so he's earned a contract in the organization at the very least. Here's Weidman with it. Drops it back. Sherratt with a hard shot. Goes off a stick right to Toffoli. As time winds down here, Weidman. Back to Sherratt. Shoots! That went off the stick of Ritchie and wide. Now Marner up to Semyonov, and Toronto will go to the dressing room with a 5-2 lead after 40 minutes of play. Coming up, our second intermission with James Duthie and the panel. Hey, Ferraro, last year wasn't necessarily a bad year for John Tavares, but not what he's used to. Tonight we're seeing him at his very best.
He looks a lot like Tavares of old, the way that we would expect to see him play. I talked about earlier in the game about how I think this top six for the Maple Leafs, depending on how they suit him up, whether it's bunting and whether they may move Ritchie into that top six with Matthews and Marner. But I think this top six is going to be able to score 175 to 80 goals this year. Tavares is going to get 35 to 40 goals. He does all the time. He's got a couple assists tonight. He's got 6 shots on goal. He's strong on the puck. He and Nylander have said that they want to get off to a good start together. They've kind of challenged each other. Last year ended in terrible fashion for Tavares, but he's healthy and he looks real good here as the Leafs will play 20 more minutes before they'll head up to Cottage Country and a little bit of break before their last preseason game on Saturday.
Montreal right back at it against Ottawa. Of course, these two teams will face each other in their season opener a week from tomorrow. And the NHL season debut is a week from tonight. Tampa Bay and Pittsburgh facing off, and you'll be there for ESPN with our friends and colleagues at ESPN well in their return to the game.
Yeah, very exciting. And of course, that Penguins roster is going to be a little different than you might normally see. No Malkin, no Crosby. Gensel's got COVID.
That won't be in the promos, by the way.
No.
Icing called against the Maple Leafs. It's hard to believe this is John Tavares' 4th year on his 7-year deal. He's a 5-time 30-goal scorer in his career. At the 47 for Toronto a couple of years ago.
He looks fit, he's eager. There's a lot on the line this year. We've talked lots about it, and many people have talked lots about it with the Leafs and the urgency and really the feeling of it. The time is now for them to be a better team, to get past that first round. Yeah, you got to get through the regular season, but this has the potential to be a very good hockey team.
And as we mentioned, a very good division. The defending Stanley Cup champions from Tampa. Got the Bruins, who are still a tough out as Nylander rips that wide. Florida appears to be rising.
Just think of the series Florida played last year. They didn't have Aaron Ekblad, who had a terrific year for him. Was injured, broke his leg and knee injury late in the season. They had to play without him. A couple of young stars in Barkov and Huberdeau there.
Young goalie and Spencer Knight. In case Sergei Bobrovsky falters. So, not a lot of easy outs. And of course, for Montreal, the question marks will be, the last couple of years they've kind of made it to the preseason or for the postseason, one of the last teams to do it both years, and made lots of noise both times. Of course, last year all the way to the Stanley Cup Final. Gusev, nifty pass back across to Semyonov, drops back to Riley. In comes Morgan Riley, long shot, trickles down, and Montembeault has it.
The Canadiens made all kinds of changes coming into this season, and we talked about the injury to Price. He's not back. Joel Edmondson's not back yet. Paul Byron's out till January with hip surgery. Dominic Ducharme's waiting to get a look at Mike Hoffman, who signed a one-year deal. Then you get Jonathan Drouin back, and there'll be some ups and downs for Drouin until he gets his legs under him and gets back into the rhythm of a season.
Liljegren back across to Cini with a wrist shot, and the glove save is made by Montembeault. There is Jonathan Drouin, 26-year-old, in the 5th year of the 6-year extension he signed with the Canadiens after being acquired in that deal. Mikhail Sergachev from Tampa.
His numbers in his career are always in that 45 to 55 point. Why can't it be that again? And just think of what an addition that would be to the Canadiens lineup if it's a healthy, productive Drouin.
An interference call coming up here as Perreault and Cini came together, and now Gabriel into it with Montreal's Michael Pezzetta. But Brett Cini, the London, Ontario native, will go off.
Number 43, minor penalty for interference.
With 4 years at Merrimack College, 6th round pick of New Jersey in 2015. Played a couple of games for them last year.
He ends up shoving Perreault out of the play. The puck had gone on back behind the net. The Canadiens, a power play opportunity. It's a big, even though the game is the way it is, like a guy like Chris Weidman, this is a big power play. He's going to make the Canadiens. Part of it is that he's got to be able to run this power play.
There's Drouin. 4 assists in 2 preseason games coming in to Foley for Suzuki. Back to Weidman. Back for Drouin. To Weidman. Cross he goes, Suzuki. The centering pass was blocked there by Rubich. Now Weidman goes back across to Drouin. Jonathan Drouin tried to center it. Liljegren got in the way. Liljegren trying to clear it. That was knocked down by Drouin. The Foley centers it for Gallagher. And that's sent down by Liljegren. There's Suzuki with it across to Romanov. Drops it back for Belzile, who has a goal in the game tonight. Romanov. Cross he goes to Evans. That pass hit Romanov. Mikheyev knocked it down and goes back to Riley. Talked about at the top of the show, Morgan Riley will be an ongoing story for Toronto this year in his unrestricted free agent year. The UFA at the end of the season. Now Mikheyev in on Belzile, and Mikheyev moves in quickly on him. And Belzile, a good job to knock that away. Perreault out to Jake Evans. 15 seconds to go in the Montreal power play. Belzile with it. Back to Romanov. Across he goes. Armia. Got to drop that back. Amadio got in the way. At the line, Romanov holds it. Feeds it across to Belzile. No shots from Montreal on that power play as Cini steps back on. Moves it on a tired Belzile. Cini gets a stat, comes in, scores! Brett Cini, fresh out of the box, and it's 6-2 Toronto.
What a dash, what a fabulous goal by Brett Cini. Alexander Romanov is going to make a dangerous play late in the power play. Tired, he tries to spin this puck back. It's a bad decision. The puck bounces to Cini, and you're right, Belzile just can't go. There's nothing left in the legs. Cini's just out of the penalty box, and he darts right past him, and then shells this over Montembeault. A gorgeous goal. And the Leafs stretch it to 6-2.
Played 51 games for New Jersey a couple of years ago. Brought ahead by Paling. Ryan Paling, a centering pass. Just out of the reach of Lehkonen. And Mrazek loves that.
Well, that'll make your night. Cini comes out of the penalty box to pick up the loose puck, and now he's in a dash against Belzile, who just is not going to be able to catch him. Right to the front of the net, across the front, and quickly slips this up over top of the glove of Montembeault. It's a beautiful goal for Cini to score.
That's a filthy backhand.
That's 53 NHL games with jersey. He's got 5 goals. I'm going to venture to say that's the nicest one he's had in an NHL rink.
Holloway with it. Up ahead to Marner, who chips it down. Cini's first point of the preseason, just his second game. Spent most of last year with Binghamton, New Jersey's AHL affiliate.
Here's the Romanov play. That's a play that the Canadiens won't like because of his stature on their defense and on their team. They didn't use him in the playoffs last year. You want to see growth on decision making and your puck play. That's a turnover he just can't make. That's late in the power play. Puck's got to go deep in the corner. You have tired people on the ice.
Zicky puts that back. Tavares picks it off. John Tavares. Cross he goes to Hollowell.
Score by number 43, Brett Cini. Assisted by number 94,
Suzuki on it. Semyonov draws an assist. Goal by Cini. Back goes Christian Zrubich. An undrafted free agent signed by Toronto back in 2018 in the Western Hockey League, a Latvian. Dargachintsev flies it across to Cini. Dargachintsev knocks it down. Cini back with it, trying to slide that back in front. Toffoli takes it away. And the puck skipped over the glass and out of play. 13:45 to go here in the third period. Cini lifts Toronto to a 6-2 lead. Montreal broadcast on TSN. Here's the Ritchie goal.
What a feed from Marner. As you can see, the Canadiens rotate out of position. They're in decent shape.
There's the Belzile goal.
Belzile shoots it through the Perreault screen. Mrazek can't pick it up. Still a close game back then.
Pretty cool. Pick your view, pick the angle you like. Got a view of the game that you might not normally see. Mario back for it. The thing that's really hard, I think, Ray, to pick up unless you sit down low is just how frenetic a hockey game is. It's so orderly and tidy from where we sit and where we shoot it from.
There is chaos to almost every shift on the ice somewhere. And when
Gallagher centers it, Mrazek knocked that down.
When coaches say, oh, we want to, or players say, we want to play a solid 60-minute game, we want to control 60 minutes, you can't. Just by nature of the game, you just can't.
Evans took a Mario in. Now they're pushing and shoving. There's a lot of players on the ice at the moment, as there's a line change in progress.
Belzile and Tavares are the only two playing at the puck. Everybody else was focused in on the Leaf and Canadiens bench. Evans finishes Amadio into the bench, a little shove, and it doesn't take much once Gallagher and Pezzetta jump in. We've got a collection of guys having a chat. Looks like Pezzetta's got the only penalty here.
That's some serious mullet he's got going. And the duster to match.
Yeah, that's some flow right there.
He's got the only penalty. Goes for roughing. And Dominic Ducharme wants an explanation. Ducharme took over the head coach on February 24th for Claude Julien. assistant coach for parts of 3 seasons with the Canadiens. Of course, twice the head coach of Canada's national junior team. Silver in 2017, gold in 2018 in Buffalo. Here's Riley with it. Ups it back to Mikheyev. Rick winding goes to Nylander. Marner works in. Marner shoots. That's just wide. One of the great things about preseason games, and there are some good things about it, as Evans moves in, gets a step on Marner. You get a lot of fans in the building that aren't normally here. A lot more energetic and lively than you might get in some regular season games. Outside walking in tonight, there were lots of fans super excited to come to this building for the first time. And here's Mikheyev with it. And they're in their seats at the start of each period, too.
Yes, they are.
Now Nylander centers. Oh, nice stop there by Montembeault, and a deflection by Tavares.
Tavares wanders around that 5 or 6 feet in front of the blue paint. He goes side to side in front of the net. He's got such great hands. He'll come out of the corner and find himself into a good spot again. Patient that he doesn't go by where the scoring chance is. It's a good tip and a better save by Montembeault.
There's Gouli on it. Picked off by Nick Ritchie. Toss it goes to Gusev. Back across to Dargachintsev. He finds Amadio. Back to Gusev. Dargachintsev. Slides it back across. Gusev shoots. That was blocked by Gouli. Right back to Gusev. That pass picked off and sent down the ice by Harvey Pinard. Here's Manel. Through the middle for Dargachintsev. On comes Rubich for it. One shot for Toronto on that power play. It was a great deflection by Tavares. Gabriel pokes at it. Picked up by Rubich. The line there was Fairbrother. Now a centering pass just missed Semyonov. Gabriel into it with Pezzetta, and they're going to go.
Remember, Pezzetta had the roughing penalty in that scrum after the Evans-Amadio hit. Next time on the ice, he and Gabriel end up with the gloves off. Oh, Pezzetta's looking for it. As he finished his hit late to Gabriel and then gave him a little jersey tug to make sure that he knew that he wanted to go. Good tilt.
And the flow in all of its glory revealed.
Yeah. Jealous of the young man.
Not for the fighting part.
Not the fighting. Look. Oh, he's got options, Gord. Options, I say.
Gabriel. After in San Jose, was a finalist for the King Clancy Award, which goes to the players who do the most for their community. Strong advocate for a number of causes, including the LGBTQ plus community. A couple of fighting majors for those two. Now Brody. Out there by Belzile. Plays it back around to Weidman. Midway point of the third period. Semyonov bumped by Belzile. Now Cini. Moves it on Weidman, and Weidman knocks that away. Fairbrother pokes out at the center ice. Hollowell to Gusev. In comes Manel with a goal, looking for another, throws that towards the goal. Montembeau knocks it down. Richie on the rebound, put it wide. Richie almost had 3 in the first period. Manel drops it back to Marner. High off the glass, it bounces down to Brooks, to Holloway. Back down to Manel. He finds Marner. A centering pass knocked away from Richie, and Hollowell back with it. Brooks lines it across to Manel. Back to Brooks with a shot that trickles down. It was off the skate of Suzuki. And Hollowell back with it. Richie was taking a little with Savard on the side of the Montreal net. Now Hollowell touches up. We got penalties behind the play here. 8:43 to go. And the third period. Richie will go off. Montreal to the power play. The 76ers coverage gets underway here at 7 o'clock Eastern, 8 and 5 o'clock TSN.
Nick Ritchie takes a seat alongside of Curtis Gabriel, who's in there for fighting. After the Suzuki-Marner wrestling match in front of the net, Ritchie's going to end up with a penalty at the tail end of the play as he gives a little bear paw swat to Armia on the way to the bench.
Armia knocks down that third attempt and can't keep it on the line. Offside call as he played it across to Romanov. There is Christian Rubich, who played for Medicine Hat in the Western Hockey League. Signed to an East Coast League contract by the Maple Leafs in August of 2018. Actually, ECHL. They don't like this to call it the East Coast League anymore. But there's teams on the West Coast in that league too. So maybe they could call it the Coast League, but CHL's taken. Here comes Armia. Belzil with it. Got a goal tonight. Matthew Perreault back to Yoel Armia. Romanov had to take away by Brooks, and here comes Brooks short-handed. Brooks in behind Romanov, and Romanov reaches back and knocks that away. And the official, Gilles Hébert, right away said, no, that's a good stick check by Romanov. Romanov drops that back for Drouin. To Suzuki. It down. Brody gets there first along with Riley. Gallagher banks it back. One thing Morgan Riley didn't do much last year was kill penalties.
Well, Muzzin would be out first right away.
Yeah.
Bogosian as well. Brody next, and all of a sudden there's not many minutes left.
Suzuki pokes at it. Drops it across to Foley. Centering pass. Gallagher, a quick shot, and Mrazek makes the save on that. There's no rebound.
A quick little release from Gallagher off the Drouin pass. Good read and positioning by Mrazek, who's been a spectator for much of the last 35 minutes. There's Romanov, who turned the puck over on the CD goal. Well, he burps one up again. This time it's Brooks, but he makes a nice effort to get back and not take a penalty nor cause a penalty shot, as Brooks quickly down the ice, short-handed.
To Foley, to Weidman. Shoot, that's blocked by Liljegren. Now swept down the ice by Tavares. Liljegren on it. 6.5 to go here in the third period. Sherratt to Savard. Now that pass across. Arnie Pinard. Back down to Palin. Savard back across to Sherratt. That long shot goes wide. Now Savard back across to Sherratt. Long shot. Mrazek makes the stop through the screen of Harvey Pinard and hangs on.
There's Mrazek with the dark pads with the dark jersey. White pads, white jersey. Look sharp, play sharp, he says. 128 wins in his 9 NHL seasons. He was a rookie when he won that Calder Cup with Grand Rapids. A remarkable performance at the 2012 World Juniors in Edmonton.
Oh, he was. And the thing was, not just the play was electrifying. He was just
so entertaining.
He was the most popular guy in that tournament. In fact, he's from Ostrava, the Czech Republic. When they had the World Junior in 2019, they used him as the model for the logo.
I would say personality-wise, the Leafs goaltenders are not boring. Jack Campbell's taking everybody to Red Lobster, apparently.
And a holding call coming here with 5:46 to go to Arkansas. Man, the Alouettes defend home turf on Thanksgiving Mondays. Ottawa's in for a Thanksgiving weekend matchup. All the action 12:30 Eastern, 1:30 Atlantic, holding on TSN. And we wish all of our viewers happy Thanksgiving weekend coming up.
You a turkey guy?
Oh yeah, dark meat, 100%. And dressing. Oh, yeah.
You know what the best part is? Leftovers. Oh, that sandwich for the next week?
No,
Are you kidding me?
And the soup.
Oh, soup comes later. Gotta get to the sandwich first.
My grandmother could make a turkey last for months. Shoots, tipped on goal, and Mrazek makes the save. She just throw everything in the pot.
Oh yeah, seen that before.
And you think, that pool of soup, I won't fill me. Oh yeah. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Nice to be around the rink today, and feels more, I say normal, but like we remember it for sure. To Foley. Lays it down to Drouin. Back to Wideman at the point. Arkansas off for holding as Gallagher feeds it back to Wideman. Suzuki. He's across to Foley, a hard shot. And Mrazek kicks that out. Well, Ryan Poehling steps on here on this power play, Ray. And thus far, it's been another night in the preseason where there hasn't been a lot of impression made, has it?
There's not. I was told when I was a rookie by Stu Gavin, an ex-Leaf who was in Hartford, he's like, these are the nights that you can make yourself stand out. When everything else is going wrong for the team, your effort can make you stand out. It's really been another quiet night for Poehling, and Dominic Ducharme's running out of time here to leave more runway for Poehling to find his game, at least at the start of the year.
He'll step in and take the draw against Semyonov. Here's Romanov with it. In comes Evans with it. Back to Romanov. To Evans. Here's Poehling back with it. That pass is picked up by Semyonov. He's got Mikheyev with him. Semyonov works in short-handed for Mikheyev, and he bobbled that in front of the Montreal goal. You've seen that before.
Unfortunately, yes, that's a beautiful play by Semyonov, and Mikheyev double clutches, loses the puck out the back end, and frustratingly heads back to the bench.
Genie back on it. Three and a half to go here in the third period. Mario with it. Back to Holloway. Pinard has it picked off by Mario. He'll bank that back down to Montreal zone as Sherratt goes back. Last year Montreal made the playoffs despite long absences for Weber, Price, and Gallagher. That sharp shot by Drouin is knocked away by Mrazek. Just grounded out. In the playoffs, you crown teams down. Overtime wins against Toronto in games 5 and 6. Montreal went 6-1 in overtime in the playoffs last year. Here's Fairbrother back with it. You know, just to the point about making the team, coaches will often say, Ray, that we don't make the decisions, the players kind of make them for us.
Yeah, you can play yourself into or out of a spot in a matter of a week. For the players that are on the bubble, man, camp just is never quite long enough. You want to solidify your spot. You know you haven't quite done enough.
Evans moves in and shoots. Mrazek save. Rebound. Loose in front. And two good stops there by Mrazek. Another from a sharp angle on Wideman.
Really nice rush from Evans to test Mrazek.
Liljegren. Back across to Rubich. That pass Messini. Icing called against Toronto.
Jake Evans signed a 3-year, $5.1 million extension. Earlier in the week, he was just thrilled to be back in Montreal as he slides around. Rubich knocks him off stride a bit, but gets up to his feet for one shot. Gallagher follows tightly, and Mrazek has to battle that one away, too.
Toronto native as Jake Evans has been 4 years at the University of Notre Dame. In comes Senior, little backhand shot. He scored on a backhander earlier in the game. And Sherratt back with it. He passed to Savard. Smith. Hollowell goes back. Nicely called this time against Montreal.
It's been a long night for Montreal, an excellent night for the Leafs as they just dominated, in particular, the first 40 minutes of play. Couple of power play goals, couple of goals for Nick Ritchie. And now we'll take a break of a couple of days and recharge before their last exhibition. And then the season getting underway next week.
And they'll open with back-to-back games with Toronto. Home to Montreal on the Wednesday, into Ottawa on the Thursday. The first of their 18 sets of back-to-back games. Final minute now of the third period. Brazil finds that back down to the Maple Leaf zone as Hollowell picks it up. Ritchie scored twice in the first period, chips that down to the Montreal zone. Here's Paling with it. Paling works in, drops that back. Fairbrother in, little backhand shot blocked by Liljegren. Harvey Pinard sends it back in. Hooked away by Liljegren. And the Maple Leafs, to the delight of those in attendance, win it by a final score of 6-2. Rather, the final shots 44-22 in favor of Toronto.
Well, the shots and the score are just about the way that should be. The Leafs were by far the better team tonight. They got production around the top of their lineup. They got a nice goal from Cini late. And Peter Mrazek did enough in goal. Samuel Montembeault under siege in the Canadiens' goal tonight.
In 8 days, they'll meet in the first game of the year that matters as the full 82-game season awaits. But before that, decisions to be made for the coaching staffs on both sides. For Mark Masters, Ray Ferraro, all of us at TSN, I'm Gordon Miller. Thanks for tuning in from Toronto.